The doll from the past film is cleaned, fixed and set up back. The makers need to demonstrate the doll checked out. There were bits of gossip that somebody messed with the doll's voice tape, something like "Hello, I'm Chucky. I'm the Lakeshore Strangler and I will kill you." Andy is in a child care home. His mom is in a mental ward. While chipping away at the doll, a heavenly power floods through the machine and shocks the professional. Mr. Sullivan could do without what this looks like. He needs Mattson to pirate this mistake out of here in 24 hours. He thinks of a fine method for managing the doll: stick it up your butt. Andy's non-permanent parents Phil and Joanne carry Andy to their home. Phil sets out a standard, first rule: don't contact the old stuff. Andy meets his cultivate sister Kyle. Andy opens a storeroom entryway. A good guy doll tumbles down and startles Andy. Phil sets out another standard: Andy, rule number 2, no running in the house. Mattson stops at an alcohol store. While he's gone, Chucky purposes the vehicle phone to call the child care home and get the whereabouts of Andy. This is his Uncle Charles. Mattson returns. The vehicle caution is on, yet there's no one inside the vehicle. While inside the vehicle, Chucky holds Mattson at gunpoint. He arranges Mattson to drive and stop the vehicle. He has Mattson put his hands behind the rear of the seat. He integrates the hands with a jumping rope. He says, "Bang, you're dead." Water spurts out of the firearm. They chuckle. Chucky sticks a pack over the man's head and chokes out him ridiculously. In the house, Chucky meets his clone. "Hello there, I'm Tommy." "Quiet down you dolt," says Chucky. He crushes the Tommy cutie pie with the trimming. He covers the doll in the terrace. Phil is unglued about the wrecked adornment. Andy and Kyle both reject that they got it done. Phil says until one individual admits, they're both grounded. In the evening, Chucky has Andy attached to the bed and choked. He has concocted a game called Conceal the Soul, and that implies doing likewise recite as he did in the main film. Kyle shows up at the window. Chucky needs to figure out another opportunity when Andy is separated from everyone else. Phil tosses Chucky in the storm cellar so it can't annoy Andy. Chucky gets a nosebleed. He's turning human once more. He should get to deal with Andy's body quick. Andy goes to class. Chucky gets a ride under the school transport. He tracks down Andy's schoolwork task and vandalizes it, giving Miss Kettlewell an individual message. The educator places Andy in confinement. She tosses Chucky in the storage room and locks it. She likewise secures Andy in the room. Andy glances through the storeroom keyhole. Chucky's eye shows up. Andy moves through the window. Miss Kettlewell thinks the commotion coming from the storeroom is Andy. She opens it to give him a decent chastening. She can't find Andy anyplace. Chucky wounds Miss Kettlewell with a vacuum apparatus and infuses her brimming with air. She staggers out of the storeroom, pushing a few work areas over. Chucky shows up from the storeroom holding a major stick. "You've been exceptionally shrewd, Miss Kettlewell." The camera zooms through from the window with each swing of the stick. Back in the house, Kyle lets Andy know that she has resided with many families. They generally appear to send her away when she begins to settle in. Each time it has worked out, it has made her more grounded. The main individual she can depend on is herself. Andy says, "It doesn't make any difference. Any place I go, Chucky will track down me." Andy takes an electric meat blade and strolls into the storm cellar. Chucky drops down on Andy. There is a battle as Andy slithers along the floor with Chucky on his back. Andy arrives at the blade and hits Chucky in the head with it. Chucky runs off. Phil shows up. He is as a rule additional careful seeing Andy holding the electric blade. Chucky excursions Phil on the steps, making him fall through the handrail. "How's it hanging, Phil?" says Chucky, before he relinquishes the rope. Phil falls, breaks his neck and passes on. As a result of Phil's demise, Joanne chooses to return Andy to the child care home. Kyle places Chucky in the canister. She swings on a swing, smoking a cigarette. She kicks up some earth, enough to uncover a covered thing. She pulls up the Tommy doll. She observes the receptacle vacant. She observes Joanne at a sewing machine, her mouth choked, and her throat cut. Chucky takes Kyle hostage and powers her to head to the child care home. They more likely than not been speeding as they are pulled over by the police. The police officer appears to be attracted to the doll. He inquires, "What's your name, amigo?" Chucky answers the doll. Blood emerging from its nose appears to go nuts the police officer to the point of releasing them. Kyle speeds up and slows down out of nowhere, sending Chucky crashing through the windscreen. Kyle runs the vehicle into a post to lose Chucky the cap. Kyle attempts to squash Chucky against a fence, yet Chucky gets out the way. Chucky takes Kyle hostage once more. Recess finished. The alarm is on in the child care home. Kyle says that Chucky pulled the alarm. Beauty brings them into her office. She seizes the doll. Chucky springs up, astounding isn't it? He cuts Grace in the chest. She falls onto a copier and her demise face is printed. Chucky shuts the entryway among Andy and Kyle. He has Andy get toward the rear of a Chicago Sun-Times van. Kyle drives the vehicle before the van to stop the van. Andy is running with Chucky on his back into the Good Guy Doll industrial facility, and Kyle in pursuit, abandoning a furious driver. Andy goes through a labyrinth of Good Guy Doll bundles. Chucky takes Andy out with a hit to the rear of the head. Chucky really figures out how to finish the serenade. Nonetheless, his nose drains. It is past the point of no return. He's been inside this doll's body for a really long time. Presently he's left with it. Kyle thumps a pile of boxes onto Chucky. Kyle and Andy move up a roller slide. Chucky shows up and moves up after Andy. Kyle pulls Andy to the highest point of the slide and shuts a yellow entryway down on Chucky's hand. Chucky rips his hand off attempting to get it free. He involves a blade edge as a substitution for his hand. Kyle and Andy traverse a machine embedding the doll's eyes to get to a leave entryway. With dolls stopping up the creation line, a specialist pays heed. The professional clears the creation line and gets into a perilous situation to fix the machine. Chucky slices the professional's cheek with his blade hand. The specialist falls in reverse on the transport line. A couple of dolls' eyes are embedded instead of his own eyes. Chucky abruptly shows up on a transport line stage. Kyle gets a container of pieces and thumps Chucky into a sitting position. A doll hair sewing machine sews Chucky down on the stage. Andy presses the button, so the transport line runs in reverse. Chucky is sent inside a machine embedding the doll's appendages. A wrecked heap of appendages emerges from the machine. A swinging expert carcass thumps Kyle onto the transport line. Chucky has gotten away from the machine. He rides on a streetcar as a trade for his legs. Chucky's blade hand gets found out in a mesh. Andy turns a valve. Liquid plastic splashes over Chucky. Andy saves Kyle from entering the machine. Chucky returns alive to go after them some more. Kyle sticks an air hose inside Chucky's mouth. His head becomes so enormous and explodes. Chucky is dead for the subsequent time. Andy and Kyle leave the production line and the credits begin to roll.